Hey, this is Andy Jenkins. Thanks for hopping on the podcast. Today I've got another thing for you that's in this, it's the unique series. Normally on this podcast, I hop on by myself and I talk to you about something that I'm really working through in that moment. So often, really what I remind people of as they listen is I'm not necessarily teaching from the standpoint of being an expert. I really write things and study things and explore things that I want to know to apply for myself because I feel in some way they'll enhance and help me. That leads me to this. I'm talking all about a coaching series right now, and instead of doing this on my own, I've invited some coaches into the room to talk with me. So I'm in my kitchen, usually I'm in my office or in the tiny house. This week I've got my friend Randy Pardue, and he has, you'll hear from him another time too, he's got this unique angle because Randy's been married for, how long have you guys been married?
Yeah, 42 years.
It's a long time. I don't think I've done anything for 42 years. I've been alive 42. But he's got this unique story in that he had grown kids, and it's one of these things where you've probably been to school and you think, man, if I could go back and if I could take all the classes in college again, I guarantee I would learn so much more, I would score better, I would get it right this time. All right, well, so imagine if you could do that in the world of parenting. You raise all the kids and you think, man, glad that's over. But if I could go back and do it all again, I could probably crush it. All right, Randy's got that perspective. 42 years of marriage. You guys had grown kids.
Yeah.
And then you had a...
he's 22 now.
Was it an oops baby or was he...
in a major way.
Well, yeah. So he's... We're going to get into the whole book and everything, but... So talk through that. How old are the older kids when all of a sudden his wife Tammy is fabulous? Tammy's breaks the news. Might be pregnant.
Yeah, so the name of the book's Diapers or Dorms because we actually had one in diapers and one in dorms, and that's the name of the book that we wrote. But we were 40, and we're laying in bed one night. I'm not even making this up. We're laying in bed at 40, and my wife looks at me. She says,
and you're just thinking, about time to go to bed.
And she's like, hey, we're getting older. We probably ought to do something. Now, when I hear my wife say we ought to do something, like, fix something so we don't get pregnant, I'm thinking, that's not happening to me. So I said, somebody's broken. We've not been trying not to have babies for 13 years. So we're good. 1 month later, we're laying in the same bed.
Probably because you did something that night.
I know. And she says, hey, I think we're going to have a baby. I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way. And so,
but you've been humming along for 13 days. Because what people don't understand about your marriage is you guys have a great marriage. You still date your wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
42 years into it. So it's not like, let me just be transparent. When I was at men's events and teaching them, guys would, talk about sexless marriages.
Right.
This wasn't that. This is,
no.
You're just doing what married couples do, but not getting pregnant.
Yeah. So we had a junior in high school, and then we had two other kids. We had our first three they were 4 years of age and under when we had them.
So they come in as a cluster.
Yeah. So
you're done. They're moving up. They're all going to elementary school together, junior high together, high school. Boom.
And we're done. With the doors open for empty nest. Well, I'm right there, ready to just jump into that, and then this happens, and so it ended up being the most incredible, really, experience for us at all. And you're right. We always say there's no do-over in parenting, but we did have a shot at it.
That's the way to do it.
And so for us, we did it a little different than we did with the others. We were a lot more strict and conservative with the first set, and I guess as you get old and tired, you just do it different. But it was a much different approach. Same principles, but just a different approach. And I love that they've all turned out. He's 22 now, and he's a paramedic firefighter, and my 39-year-old is Delta general manager, and all the others in between. So life is good for us.
Okay, so the old ones, the youngest one's name's Jackie, boy Jackie.
Yep.
So has a great reputation, by the way. I've got some friends that are firefighters that have worked with him, and they're like, man, he's fabulous, young but incredible. So did the old ones ever look back and go, Man, y'all let Jackie get away with everything. Is that what they call him? Is Jackie?
Jackie Lee. We call him Jackie Lee.
Jackie Lee.
Yeah, his name's Jackson Lee,
Okay.
and so we just, Jackie Lee, Jackie Chan, whatever. But
They would go, that's not fair.
They would get so mad at us.
Jackie's driving when he's 12.
That's exactly right. He would stay up late, all the things that you're not supposed to do, And they're, Dad, you never let us get away with that. I'm like, I know, I'm old and tired right now.
I don't have the energy to. Okay, so you find out Tammy's pregnant. You've got kids that are in dorms, ready for empty nest, new baby, Jackie Lee. You get him at the hospital.
Yep.
And now what?
Well, now we're trying to figure out how to do it all over again, right?
Do you forget? I mean, is it like riding a bike or?
Well, we had a really good breakthrough about the time Jackson came along. My oldest, he bounced into my office one day after football practice. Hey Dad, what's going on? Just checking up because I have a little home office, and he bounces out. And then it's one of those moments, if you're a dad or any kind of relational guy, you walk out of there and you go, he's going to be graduating from high school in a year. And there's so many things I've left undone that I wanted to teach him. And I began to literally almost kind of freak out a little bit about what should happen. And so we began to draw on some student ministry things we did. So I thought, how am I going to get him up to speed? I mean, this is crazy. He's heading to college. And so when we were doing student ministry, we would reverse engineer ministry. We would say, okay,
right. If you want the kids to be able to
I get a kid coming in at 7th grade, what I want him to know, think, and feel by the time he's a senior. So I started doing that with my kids, and that really was the breakthrough. So that we have what we call a Directional Parenting Blueprint that we help people with.
That sounds really official.
I know, doesn't it? But so the purpose is that, listen, we can all intend to raise good kids. Everybody does, right?
Everybody wants that, yeah. But then if you're not in the grind of life, and you're just, you're making carpools, you're cooking meals, you're washing clothes, make up your bed, do the chores, and then all of a sudden you're like, what in the world? Is it already Thursday again?
Right.
Weekend's here. So.
Yep. So if you're not directional then, right? I mean, we intend to, but if we don't actually take steps in the direction that we want our kids to go, then we're never going to accomplish the things that we do. So Tammy and I sat down and we began to say, okay, what do we want him to know, by the time he's
heading to college? This is the oldest kid that's got
yes.
1 year left.
Yeah, so we fast tracked. I took him to India because there were some things I wanted to do there on a mission trip. And, we went down to, I know it sounded like we traveled, but we went down to Belize and we did some things there because I wanted him to just experience some things. We took a road trip out west and saw some things. And all in that process, we were teaching some principles that we had laid down. And so we began to do that with the others as they were younger and coming up.
But at that point, there is no directional parenting blueprint. This is just,
no.
Oh crap! This guy's about to leave.
That's right.
What does he not know?
Right. So we said, okay, here are the things. So let's talk about money. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about marriage and all the things that you think study habits.
The stuff you wish that you would have known.
Yeah. Yeah. So and we kind of hit and missed with it, but now we're intentional. In the sense of very direct in our scope of what we're wanting to do.
All right. So when all this is happening with the oldest kid, Jackie Lee.
Yeah.
Is now the toddler.
That's right.
Pooping in his pants, hence diapers to dorms.
That's right.
So you're fill in the gaps there. You're gonna.
So then what we did was we broke parenting down into 3 phases, right? There's a discipline phase, that's 0 to 5 year old. When I say discipline, I don't mean like spank or whatever necessarily. All I'm talking about is you want to help them create
structure,
right? Self-control, right? That's what discipline is, to help them have self-discipline. And so then we thought. And this is how we did the blueprint. So we think, okay, when Jackson is heading into kindergarten, what kind of friends do I want him to have? What kind of attitude do I want him to have with the teacher? What do I want him to feel, in life? And so we laid out, here's what we think we want him to look like.
Okay, so give me some examples. Like, what did Jackson need to know?
Well, he needed to be respectful.
So we're talking like, ma'am, sir.
Yeah, because he's around his.
Not snatching toys.
His siblings are teenagers. So we're at a restaurant. He's hollering, hey, where's the freaking salt? I'm like, okay, look, that's probably not a good word for a 3-year-old to be saying.
No, I get it because I've got a little 7. He'll be 8 by the time we air this. that downstairs his older brothers are playing Xbox.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Come on, bro!" And then all of a sudden you hear him like mimicking
Exactly.
the 17-year-old. You're like, "Oh, that sounds different coming out from a little kid."
Yeah, right. I know. So that was the thing that we did. So we talked in terms of, he needed to be. All kids, I think, probably have ADHD. I mean, we use that in the clinic. I didn't realize there's a clinical.
There is a clinical,
but most of us.
A lot of it is just basically called being a boy.
Right. So I wanted him to learn how to sit. Just like
how to be still and be bored.
Right. And so we intentionally did some things that made that happen. And then we would talk about his manners and his respect for people. So it was yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and all of those things. And so there were several specific things like that we did. We wanted him to clean his room, those kind of things. So we would use little tools, like when you do this, then, it's called when then, right? So when you get your room clean, well, then you can play the Xbox. Right, and so we're trying to train.
Of course, I mentioned back then it's not even an Xbox;
no.
it's an Atari or a Nintendo.
Right. And so then when he hit the kindergarten,
but he's learning life skills for later because when you are an adult and go to work all day, then you can go home and play basketball.
That's right.
Or then you can go home and watch the football game, or then you can go home and cook out, or then. Right. But so
and they all build on each other.
He's getting the activity first that you have to do so then he can do what he wants to do.
Right. I mean, we all want kids to turn out right? And when you boil it down to the very most practical essence, it's that we want to raise kids that other people like. I wanted my kids to be attractional in that sense. That I like, right?
Or that you want to sit next to in the restaurant.
That's what I mean.
You ever had the little midget minions that get up and run around and they're...
Exactly. So if you think, okay, I want to raise a kid that others like, that I like,
that you like,
and that they like themselves, right? I mean, they, and so that was kind of what drove a lot of what we did.
Have you noticed that a lot of people parent kids in a way that they don't even like to be around their own kids?
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway,
so I will give you. And I'm not bragging or anything on this area, but my 22-year-old will text me. I mean, on a every other day basis. He's just coming back from the beach, and he was just texting me. He said, "Dad, I've been talking about parenting." He said, "Man, I'm so grateful for the dad that you are." He said, I wanted to be his trusted friend. And so he said, "I know if I've got any issue in life, I can talk to you and I'm going to get straight talk."
So not best friend, like, oh, we're buddy. That's trusted. Not.
No. I don't. No,
that's a mistake I see parents making too. Is like, they want to be buddy. And you're like, no.
You want to be that anchor that he comes to when all hell's breaking loose.
You want to be the older advisor. Right? They know they can call.
I want to be a trusted friend. I want him to know Dad can disconnect from wanting to, not punch you in the face because you did something stupid and go, no, let me just help you get where you really are.
So you want to be the guy that when this guy gets 22, not that he's going to do this, but if he, let's say one of the worst case scenarios, caught drunk driving, arrested, he can call you to bail him out from jail.
That's exactly
There's going to be a discussion
absolutely
the next day or the day after that, but in the moment, I'll meet you at rock bottom, get you, pick you up. I'm safe to call.
That's exactly
not I've got to hide from you. Because so often I think we get some of that wrong. We want to be buddy, or we want to be such that they have to hide the mess ups. Whereas you would think, where else should you go if you got a mess up?
Exactly.
Okay, so I interrupted.
So we're very intentional with that. So then, and I'll give you the real skinny, and then we can have conversation on any of that. But so then the next phase is what we call the training phase, right? That's where you're just training them. You're teaching them how to do certain things. Back old school, now everybody can have a nap. But my older set, they had to order pizza. You may remember that, and I may remember that.
You make a phone call.
Yeah, it's don't make me call. Don't make me do that, Dad. I don't want to talk to them. But you needed to train your kids to learn how to
have a phone conversation.
Exactly. And so, my little girl, she hated ordering pizza, kind of thing. So that's what...
This is age 6 to what?
6 to junior high, when they're walking into junior high.
Okay.
So
6 to 12, 13-ish.
Yeah, so it's the training phase. And you're just saying, hey, here's why we do this, and here's what we do here. And you teach them life skills, whatever that looks like in your world, and we'll talk about some of those in a minute. And then the last one is what we call the coaching phase, right? Because there comes a point where you can't teach your kid anymore. When they hit that junior high and high school... they're not going to listen to what you have to say until the wheels fall off, and then they're going to want somebody to coach them. So the difference in that is that they'll do something really stupid. You go, well, was that the outcome that you really thought you wanted? What would you have done differently if you could go back? So you're coaching, right?
You're teaching them
training
how to
wheels
make
are
some
off.
assessment. Yeah,
right.
They're still going to crash, but
So for that, it's like, what do I want them to look like when they head off to college? And so those are the three areas that parenting, and really it all breaks down to that. So if you can just envision a few years out, then you can breathe because you've got a plan. Who doesn't love a plan, right? I mean, that's how we make things work.
So you got new parents coming along. They don't have to jump into this and go, "Oh, okay, I got to tackle college now." No. You're just, let's work on 0 to 5. Period.
So if they're in that area, here's what we do, and then we talk about how do we. So we've got this list. We go, this is what I want in my kid's life. This is what I want them to think. This is how I want them. Because see, everything we think eventually gets to our heart, right? What has a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we teach our kids thoughts that are true and right and healthy. And then it settles into their heart. And that's the windshield of which they see life. That's where their attitude comes from, right? And so a negative attitude is going to create a negative result kind of thing. And then from that windshield, it's actually then behavior always follows the attitude. Right, and so if I don't like the behavior of my kid, it's because their thought. You and I know this, but their
you
thought
got to go
process,
back and go,
right?
Okay, what's lodged inside?
So then, after we've got all of those things together, what kind of attitude I want them to have, what kind of behavior, what kind of thought process, then we look, where am I going to teach them all of that? And this is the fun part because it's really doing the very same things you're doing. You're all putting your kids to bed. There's going to come a day when you don't, and you don't know when that day is going to happen, but you look back and go, I miss that. I miss going upstairs, loving on my kids, reading a story to them, whatever.
And there's not a magic time where it happens.
No,
like
you
for me,
just
it was different
realize,
with every kid. It's like all of a sudden they're putting themselves to bed.
But so in that time, though, is not the time to yell at them about stuff going on. They're winding down. It's a time to talk about, hey, let's what kind of things are you sorry that you did today? Maybe we should ask the Lord to forgive us of those things and confess that. And it's a time for me to be vulnerable. When they share a struggle and go, hey, I remember being there, bro, and it was not fun. And here's what I learned. And so it's a melancholy time of just easing into the night so they get good sleep. Studies say that the last things we think about consciously, our subconscious goes to work on while we're sleeping, right? I mean, that's how that works. The brain works. Einstein was big on that, and that's how he would have these aha moments because he would write down the last thing he wanted to solve, and somehow in the middle of the night, the subconscious still works. So you want to give those things to your kids at night so that there's some things working while they're sleeping. And then the morning routine, when you're getting ready for breakfast, just get up 15 minutes early and have that breakfast ready. And so what we do during that time is send them off with a great mantra and attitude. I'm smart and I'm pretty, and gosh darn it, everybody loves
That's
me.
Stuart Smalley.
I know, right? It's that whole thing. But you want to give them.
But you're sending them out with the message you want them to hear before they.
Absolutely.
You're kind of indoctrinating them, for lack of a better term, before the world crushes in on them. Even if you're not telling them, okay, let me give you your affirmation for this. You don't have to have that language. You just do it.
We have affirmations that we had for every one of our kids.
Okay, so you do say it. Are they different for each kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we would do things like, I am unique and I'm not like everybody else, right? I mean, I want you to understand, like for Jackson, I want them to understand some of those things. I can't remember them all now, but
you would affirm some of the things that were unique about that kid,
right?
And I imagine it didn't have to be like poetic language. No. You can develop it later, but if you see that this kid's a great teacher or a great servant or they're funny or they're a leader, you just enforce that. That makes sense, because I was in another conversation here, and Brandon Lazar was talking about people's purpose and how every kid is wired differently, and we forget that every kid, like even in our house, we've got 10 kids, so a lot of them have similar experience, identical economic conditions, absolutely alike parenting, same history.
Yep.
Yet they're all different.
Sure.
I mean, you think, well, golly, I mean, is it nature or is it nurture? And you go, I mean, it's probably neither. Like, they're just created. They're just, like, there's something that transcends all of that.
That's right.
So you're saying identify it, affirm it, launch them out, fire the arrow to school or wherever they're going for the day.
And ours was always going to center around the golden rule at some point, right? I mean, that's the crux of the matter.
Treat these
so
people
we would
like
always talk about, if the tables were turned, how would you want to be treated? That's how we would frame the golden rule, right? So what you're about to do if the tables are turned, would you want to receive that? So those are some of the things. Then there's the carpool. You just ride in the car. We used to ask the most bizarre questions that we could think of. We just got kicked out of Birmingham, so where are we moving? What city you want to move to
just
next?
Hypothetical
just
stuff.
Crazy stuff, because you want to know your kid, and you want them to listen. We learn most when we talk out loud, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have some great thoughts that I don't get out.
Yeah, you don't put them together until you start teaching them.
So ask a kid a question so they can talk back to you. And what's going to happen is they're going to learn about their personality. They're going to learn about themselves. It's a great time.
Well, I imagine nonsense questions lead to deep truths.
Yeah, sure. Like, hey, what superpower do you want to have?
This one's the creative one. That one's the logical one.
Exactly. So we had great conversation just in the car doing that. And then there's always the mealtime. And I realize everybody can't do mealtime every night. But that mealtime is where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's a great time to just enjoy being together. So if you build your kids' lives around those little things that we just laid out,
those 4.
Yeah.
So bedtime, breakfast, carpool, mealtime. Mm-hmm. I think one of the issues that people are probably bumping into is saying, well, as they're listening, I don't have all 4 of those times every day, or
right.
I only got 2 out of 4, or my kids are only with me half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of walk into what you do have.
Yep.
So, like here in our house, we have certain days where we all eat at the table.
That's right.
And it's, hey, cell phones down. This is what we do on these set days. And then other days, we just know, like on Thursday nights,
right.
we just know that for whatever reason right now during this season, that is a night of chaos. I generally pick up Zaxby's or pizza
right.
or Publix chicken. We don't even try to cook. It's just on the table, fend for yourself. And normally I'm in the kitchen when they're coming through. I'm just talking to whoever one-on-one.
Yep.
And, Beth's doing whatever with them one-on-one. I mean, it's just that is the rhythm of that night.
Right.
But other nights, I guess now that I'm thinking about that, I get to hang out with those kids one-on-one during that time. Mm-hmm. But there's differences, and you just seize.
The deal is just to get it down.
And just be intentional with what you got.
Just do it, if it's once a month, do that. The one more last piece that was really instrumental for us, coming from an old youth guy, right? You're going to have bonfires in camp. When you go to church camp, you're going to have a bonfire and you're going to sit around.
I got one in my house.
We do too.
I got 2 at my house.
Every house we've been to, there's something about a fire. We would get our kids away out of the house, sit by that fire, and we would just chat. And I would ask them questions. Hey, so let's talk about Abby right now. What is it that you really, really love about your sister Abby? There's something powerful about kids, when they begin to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And then we would say things like, "Hey, what's the last thing that made you laugh?" We'll just ask some good questions. What we're trying to do is say tonight it's Abby's. We would sometimes just declare, it's Jackie Lee Day, or it's Jared Day, or it's whatever day, and we were just going to lavish them with stuff, whatever. If they want to eat, that's what they do, and we're going to build them up. Hey, what is it you love about them? And there's something really bonding and powerful about knowing that you're helping your kids learn to help each other. I
learned something about that from you, about that having everybody praise that person. Recently we had outside, it was one of the kids' birthdays. It was Miriam's, Minnie. And so for her birthday, she wanted pizza, so we ordered pizza. We had the presents, went outside, told everybody, all right, we're going to eat, and then after this, we're going to go to the fire pit. We'll have cake before the fire pit, and at the fire pit, we're going to talk. Didn't tell them what we're going to do. We got to the fire pit, and I had everybody, go around, and they could say a story they remembered about her, or they could say something they loved about her. And so we went around, when we got about halfway around the room, or halfway around the outside circle.
Right.
And there were even friends here, because sometimes, our kids will have friends that are over here. There's even people that spend the night here from time to time, and it's random, And the rule is, if the friends come, which they're always welcome, they just have to participate in whatever we're doing.
Sure.
Like they don't get a hall pass, and you don't get a hall pass because you got a friend like everybody, and then you can do whatever after we're done. All right, so we got friends in the circle too. So we're going around. So there's however many people in the family plus random friends that are older sister's friends that aren't even her friends. Everybody says some things, and some of these don't know her well, but they've noticed stuff. All right, we get all the way around. It's about to come back to me because I started it, and I'm going to finish it and pray for her. And the little boy, he runs up to me. He's like, "Hey, can we do me now?" I'm like, no. This is then he runs over to Beth. Hey, can we do B? And I'm like, no, this is her.
That's right.
But everybody wants it because,
Sure.
I mean, out in the world, like the life will get sucked out of you. But in the family, in the home, that should be safe space where you can be corrected without shame.
Absolutely.
You can make mistakes without people disowning you or canceling you. And then also you get affirmed in some of the things that we see, but we just take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So, we picked that up from you. Okay, so I've got intentional times. Where are you going to teach them the things you want to teach them? So I've got bedtime, breakfast, carpool, mealtime, build yourself a fire pit or buy one from Walmart or some other thing. Just get outside. Where do we go from there?
Well, you just keep working that deal, right? And then every so often you're going to have a family meeting because something's going to go awry and you're going to go, hey, we need to reset.
Okay, give me an example. Where have y'all done that?
Well, we've done that at a fire pit. Sometimes we'll just call one.
What would cause a family meeting?
Well, my kids barking at each other all the time.
Okay, so they're just...
and it's just, you just get to that point.
Normal pressure, stress of life builds up. So you got this and...
Family meeting.
Okay.
So we're here like, hey man, here's what I'm hearing. So tell me what's going on. Is there something we don't know about that's happening between you two? Because this is crazy, right? We're family here, and we love each other. We're giving grace to each other. These are the things that we do. So what's happening? And so then we'll have that dialogue, and well, he did this or he did that, and then we'll say, well, what did you do to make them do that, right? And they hate when we do that, but we would force that dialogue, and then we'd huddle up, and we'd pray together, and we'd move on. But it could be anything. It could be, everybody's homework seemed like nobody's paying attention to that anymore because we're near the end of the year or whatever, and hey, we need to finish strong. So let's talk about this. Can we recalibrate here? And can we, what do you need? What do I need to do to help you get back to that good habit of, study? So it could be anything. It's just as a parent, as you walk through life and you just like a boss walks through his company, he sees what's weak and
sees the chaos, right?
So how do I fix that? That's all we're doing. We're walking slowly through our family and just going, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? Because I'm the dad. I mean, that's my responsibility. And as a parent, and so that's what we'll do. But the kids also could call family meetings sometime, and that was fun. It was crazy because wait, well, okay, so Dad, we think you're being really too hard on. We've been talking, We've
been talking. Well, I mean, it makes sense that you would have a family meeting on that because the kids talk about the parents,
right?
Whether the parents know it or like it or not. I mean, they've got it all figured out.
Yep.
So.
I would say if there's one thing, that you have a takeaway from this thing is that parents do a terrible job at really listening to their kids. We already think we got it all figured out. And if we could make one turn that would really propel your relationship with your kids forward, it's just listening to them without assuming that you already know the scenario and what's going on, right? I mean, we've all done that. We started lashing out at a kid because I know what you don't have to tell me. I know what you did.
Right.
But no, Dad, wait. We're like, no. If we'll just slow down and go, okay, let's talk about it. Because that's the way to the kid's heart. Now, everybody wants to be heard. Bottom line, everybody on this planet wants to be heard. So let's go overboard with our kids and listen before we do foolish things as parents because we think we know what's best. I mean, that's just my take on it. I found it to be life-changing for my family.
Well, it seems strange that some of the places where we would listen the least are with the people that matter the most, or some of the places where we would inflict people with the harshest punishment are with the people that are closest to us. Mm-hmm. Like what we really crave is connection, but then they do something wrong that we don't like, so we kind of slough them off or push them off, and it's really the exact opposite of what we want to do.
Yeah.
Or it's the exact opposite of what we actually even want.
And I tell you where we learned this, and we had one of our kids moved in to our house with our grandkids because they were building a house. And so we're listening to them put the grandkids to bed, and it's a grandparent thing that comes in, and I'm like, God, they're being stern up there,
Like, did we sound like that?
You need to go up there, I'm like, no. But we would realize that, from a grandparent perspective, you can see that harshness. From a parent, sometimes it's hard to see. You're in the middle of the war kind of thing. But if you could just step back and disengage for a minute and hear yourself talk, it is a game changer.
Well, imagine too, you probably heard them say, you know how you say, oh, I'll never be like my mom and dad. And then you catch yourself saying something, you go, oh, that was my dad. Imagine like you hear them talking, you're like, oh, that was me from 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, step back, pause, breathe.
Yeah.
And then reload and do it in the right way. Okay, let's land it with this. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, so the book has it breaks everything down for you, and it gives you some really practical issues and everything I just talked about. I mean, really, I'm not saying you don't need to buy the book now, but I gave you the outline of it.
Now it's basically like, have you ever gone to the movie theater and you watch the trailer and you're like, I feel like I just saw the whole movie.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
But there is stuff
we
there.
give you a lot of tools in here, that help, like the wind in. We do a lot of different things like that help you really just understand how to work in those 3 areas.
Okay.
But that's the basis of this book. It just helps you with that directional parenting blueprint.
All right. Where can you find it?
Anywhere books are sold.
Anywhere.
As they say.
What's the website? You got it?
I do. If you go to berefreshed.org, be refreshed, like spell that out, BERE.
berefreshed.org.
Yep.
All right.
You can find links to that and everything else.
And then you can find all your social feeds. I'm going to put them down in the show notes so people can find all of that right there. What's the maybe final parting shot you would say to people who are in the middle of this and are feeling overwhelmed as parents right now, that are stretched too thin, that are in the midst of laundry, chores, meals, school, COVID stuff? I mean, still, like right now, everybody was sending kids to school, and now people are having to homeschool that never thought they would. And, they're still, we're playing hokey pokey on a lot of things. We wear a mask or not. We're going in, we're going out. It's still, like, even a year later, like, what's just, a lot of people overwhelmed right now. Lonely, disconnected, overwhelmed. Like, what's maybe a parting shot to them?
Sure. And I think it's always going to come back down to one thing. Let's just work on one thing. So look at your family. Have a conversation with your wife or husband or partner or whatever's going on there, and just talk about that. If we could, this is the greatest question. We do it in marriage more than anything else. How can I let this get better? So if you ask yourself that question, how can I let this get better, my family?
Yeah.
It's a positive way of spinning it. It would be, well, maybe I should just shut up. Or maybe we should eat a meal together. Right? I mean, just start. So
just a baby step. Just something. Because if they listen to this, it may feel like a moral imperative to change everything.
Right.
And really, just now that you got the bigger picture, just choose one thing.
Yeah.
And you get that, you can add.
And really,
else.
life does come down to the golden rule. I don't mean to get all spiritual and everything on there, but really to do to others as you would have them do unto you. If we could instill that in our kids, you've won the game, really. When it comes, because that principle carries them all the way through life in every area of life.
That's a good, that's great. All right, so let me, always close out, pray for everybody. They'll just kind of be able to grab hold of something. So here's my prayer for you as we close out. All the links are there below for everything that you need to find to launch off. This is part of the coaching series. If you are looking to take your life to the next level in any area, we talk about that regularly here. I would encourage you to drop into the Facebook group. There's a link below. Also, you can take the free 21-day challenge that'll help you kind of identify the areas where you might want to grow, give you some very practical tools, whether it's your fitness, your faith, finance, family. That's kind of what we're on here right now, family, any area. As we close, here's the prayer. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He be gracious and shine His face of favor upon you. And may you specifically just highlight that one specific area that deals with the specific season that your child is in. And may you realize that the Lord sovereignly places people in families. And so He knew before time began, and He has gifted you to parent those kids. I'll see you again next time.